Tonight, we crack open Traveler Whiskey. Welcome to the show. Traveler Whiskey. This has gotten a lot of press lately. This is blend number 40, which I understand it was the 40th try. Did it really take that long? This is a blended whiskey, not a bourbon. Bourbon Riders lovers, I'm sorry, but I tasted this, I don't know, maybe several weeks back up in the Winder area, I think, at, was it Royal Blue Wine and Spirits? We'll check on that and let you know on the bottom. And I thought, well, when I see it out in the wild for the price that I heard was going to be $39, and that's what I did pay for, $39. I did see it for a couple weeks, a few places, yeah, like $49, $59. I don't know why people would pay that for it, but most places I'm seeing it now, $39, a couple of places $42. But I wanted to try it out. It is still relatively new. It's not in some markets yet. It is in North Georgia. And I think it's only been out in North Georgia a while. I don't know what it's like in other parts of the country. But the places that I've seen this, like 5 or 6 cases. That's not like, no, we'll send you one case, see how it does. No, they got a bunch of it. I know I was over talking with my friend Rocky over at Roswell Beverage, and I didn't count how many cases, but they were this high. So if you go to their website, buffalotracedistillery.com, you can find the Traveler Whiskey. And it says it's the first of its kind collaboration with Buffalo Trace Distillery. And they talk about Chris Stapleton and Master Distiller Harlan Wheatley. And I won't go and read all this stuff. Basically, they do give you some information about the tasting notes, which I always appreciate on a website. It says complex aroma of vanilla, aged fruit, and buttery shortbread rounded off by caramel and a touch of oak. That's actually a pretty good description. Well done, Buffalo Trace. I will tell you, I do get vanilla and fruit. Buttery shortbread? No. A little bit of oak, a touch of oak, as they say? Yes. So vanilla, fruit, and oak, I would say yes. Caramel? Well, I get that kind of brown sugar sweetness that I always get in a bourbon, so I guess we could say caramel. So pretty close. The palate is just a sense of sweetness followed by spice, toasted nut, and oak flavors with a robust finish. Sweetness, spice, toasted nut, and oak. Okay. Sounds like a bourbon, but it's not. Cheers. And I would tell you, it doesn't taste like a bourbon. That molasses brown sugar is replaced with more like a confectionery or a white sugar. I would say the sweetness is almost a little artificial tasting. You get the nuttiness, you do get some mild baking spices. Let's take another sip. Yeah, it is 90 proof, so it actually drinks lower than that. It actually feels like it's maybe 80 proof. It drinks very mild. It tastes pretty young to me. That sweetness is a little artificial tasting, and you get the nuttiness and the oak. The caramel really didn't come across much. The sweetness is not rich tasting. It's very flat on the sweetness. like I said, almost artificial, almost like a sucrose or a stevia, you know, one of those artificials that doesn't have a real bitter flavor, but just a little bit off. It's not bad. It definitely is different, and it definitely tastes like a whiskey. To me, it's not close to a bourbon at all. The finish. It lasts moderately, but it's very shallow, the finish. That nuttiness and that artificial sweetness kind of stays on your tongue. It's not great. I would tell you it's not even pleasant. It's very mundane. Nothing to write home about. It does last. I'm still tasting it, but there's nothing special about it at all on the finish. Let's take one more sip and go to final thoughts. Final thoughts. Traveler whiskey definitely is a whiskey. Doesn't taste anything close to a bourbon. Smells a lot like a bourbon, but does not taste like a bourbon. It's got a little bit unusual profile with that sweetness and the nuttiness and the oak and the youth of the whiskey. It tastes like a very young whiskey. It's got a little bit of bitterness going on. I associated that with the sweetness, but I'm not sure if that's where the bitterness comes from. But it is a little bit bitter, and that bitterness goes into the finish, unfortunately. It's not bad, it's just not good. So, value for the money, $39. I will tell you it's a very poor value for the money. I would, I'm not a big Wild Turkey 101 fan, but I would drink Wild Turkey 101 any day over the Traveler. Now, it is a bourbon, and I am a bourbon fan. I run a bourbon channel. There are other inexpensive whiskeys that I've tasted that I would drink over this Traveler. And any number of bourbons, even economy bourbons, that I would drink over this. I would drink the Larceny, the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, the Chattanooga High Malt 91. All those lower priced than the $39 price I paid for this Traveler, and more enjoyable, a lot more enjoyable. I would put this in a cocktail where I want the mixer to shine. Something that's got maybe a very complex mix to it, where I just need the spirit. So, value for the money, as I said, is poor. Which brings us to our recommendation or ranking system, 1 through 5, 1 being the highest. Go out and 1 being the highest. Stop the video right now and go out and get this, and absolutely don't do that. 2, 5, drink it only if it's free. I would tell you it's a level 4, borrow it from a friend. Just because this profile, you may like this as a whiskey profile, you may not. But I do not recommend you buying it and trying it. I think you need to borrow it from a friend, try it at a bar, try it at a friend's house, and if you like it for $39, it's certainly not an exceptional expense. There are much better bourbons and whiskeys, I think, on the market for that price. But if you like it, that's all that matters. And $39 is an affordable price for whiskey or bourbon, in my opinion. So, we hope you will like this video, comment, and share. And if you've bought a Traveler I'd like to hear what you think about it. Good, bad, indifferent? Did you pay $39 for it? Did you overpay for it? Did it not meet your expectations? For me, I kind of knew what this was, but I wanted to taste it again in an environment, in my studio, have time to think about it, not just a tiny little plastic cup in a local bottle shop. So we made the investment so you won't have to, right? As always, never drink and drive. Please drink responsibly, and we'll see you next time.